Systems engaged. Frequencies synchronized. Prepare for incoming transmission. Coming to you from somewhere in the multiverse, this is Robots from Tomorrow. This show is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube Music, and as always your podcatcher of choice. For the full archive featuring over 800 episodes of comics and comics-friendly content like interviews, book discussions, and freeform tomfoolery, please go to robotsfromtomorrow.net. Here is your host, Greg.
Hello everybody, welcome to Robots from Tomorrow. My name is Greg. Thank you for joining me. We're over the halfway point in our 5 episodes in 5 weeks event. Today's show takes us back to this past June's HeroesCon in Charlotte, North Carolina for the COPRA's Last Round panel I moderated with COPRA creator, cartoonist Michel Fiffe. Next week, on October 2nd, you'll be getting another HeroesCon panel featuring an absolutely stacked lineup of lettering and coloring talent. But for now, from the 2025 show's programming guide listing, here's what you have in store for you today. 50 issues in 12 years have brought us to this. Michel Fiffe's hard-hitting and mind-rattling indie superheroes COPRA is ending, and we're here to give it the goodbye it deserves. Moderator Greg Matasevich aims to have Fiffe both examine and bury the series that mashed 80s mainstream action with aughts indie experimentation. Personal files will be unlocked, secrets decoded, artwork revealed, decisions interrogated, and much, much more. Come join us as we give these mercenary misfits a proper send-off in true HeroesCon fashion. And welcome to the COPRA's Last Round panel. My name is Greg Matasevich. I host the Robots from Tomorrow podcast, and I'm absolutely thrilled to help facilitate this discussion, debrief about one of the best superhero comics of the last 15 years with the creator of that series, Michel Fiffe.
Yay.
All right.
You guys are awesome. Thank you. Thanks for being here. This is awesome.
So now that COPRA is wrapped with this week's issue 50, we thought it was time to give these mercenary misfits a proper HeroesCon send-off. So we're going to talk some COPRA. How does it feel to be on this side of issue 50?
I'm still reeling from it, by the way. I went through I don't know if it's the stages of grief, but there was a period right afterwards where I felt really happy and hey, I did this, yay. Yeah. And then I was depressed for about a week. And then I was angry for another week.
I think those are the stages. Yeah.
It's a huge project that I honestly had no idea would last this long. You know, I thought it would be 3 issues at first, and then that extended to 12, and then 20, and 36. I remember around 36, I was like, make it 50. I like that number. I think I could fill it out to 50. I have plenty of stuff to, not milk it, but 50 is a good stopping point.
Yeah.
And now that 50 is over, it's just kind of oh, what do I do now?
Yeah.
Wow. You know, part of me, I thought I would sometimes make COPRA forever.
Right.
You know, it would be like Love and Rockets or Savage Dragon, just these properties, these characters that you kind of carry on forever. And at the moment, no, the story had to end. Mm-hmm. That was the natural stopping point. So now I'm just kind of coming to terms with that. That's a new feeling. I've never had to deal with that as a creator or a person. It's an odd feeling because it's not just a job. This was my job for 12 plus years, but now it's all right, what's next? I don't know. I have to figure that out. It's I'm in shell shock almost.
You finished writing it, you finished drawing it, you sent it to the printer, you had to get it solicited, and then this week it actually came out. So now it's out of your hands and all that. But even now there's going to be, I'm assuming, around 8 collections. So you're going to kind of tangentially involved in it?
I'm still in it for sure.
You know?
Yeah, I can't say goodbye completely. I still have to do the hardcover, just any little extra things here and there. I still have to do commissions. You know, I do commissions with these characters a bunch.
Yeah. Well, that's never going to change because you're going to be doing commissions for these for...
Fair enough. Unless I just stop doing commissions altogether and I just become a hermit, farmer.
Okay. Seems a little extreme.
But another country or something. Just escape completely, drop off. Which I've thought about. It's an occasional thought.
Yeah. So this question came up before. Do you have an idea of what you want to do next?
I mean, because of COPRA Press, which is the way I usually publish the comic, I want to publish other stuff, whether that be more portfolios or sketchbooks or other people's comics. And it's still very early. I still don't know exactly what I want to do with that, but I do have the space and the capabilities of doing that. Maybe curating an anthology, making another series altogether, bringing back Zegas, bringing back so-and-so. I don't know, making a new thing. It really is too early to tell, and I'm not being coy about it. I don't know. I have ideas, but nothing solid enough to mention or even tease. That's how early in the stage this is. Because I am still working on, like you said, the collections and stuff. I'm also still shipping issues. Like I still have a stock at home that once orders come in, I just have to engage with that part of the business. So it's not out of my system completely.
You're in a really very rare position through COPRA where you are absolutely the independent creator. You are putting ink to paper, you're putting comics in sleeves, you're taking them to the post office and all that stuff. But you're also solicited through Image. And so now that COPRA is going off of your table, you do have all of these muscles that COPRA helped you build that you're like, what do I want to do with this stuff? Because you're not just a writer, not just a penciler, you're also a publisher. So I can see how you'd be like, I'm not sure what I want to do, other than sleep. Maybe sleep is the thing.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe not. Who knows? Okay, so we've talked about the end, but let's dial it back all the way to the beginning. You were at a point in your career where things weren't necessarily going the way that you had wanted, and so COPRA was like a Hail Mary for you, if I'm remembering correctly. How did you assemble the COPRA package? Like, I want to do this, but I don't want to necessarily do that.
Well, it started with, obviously, this is my love for the Suicide Squad, right? So I was revisiting all these old comics, Suicide Squad being chief among them, and I was doing my own comics, Zegas. Around that time, I did I think it was a crowdfunder thing, and that was okay. I was kind of unhappy with the whole trajectory of trying to break into comics, but Zegas allowed me to self-publish, so I knew I had that to fall back on. I could always self-publish if I had to. I didn't really want to. I wanted someone to take care of it, but I could do it if I really, really had to. And the way COPRA came up, a couple of things, which was I wanted to have a vehicle that would maintain me. Every month I would get something out of it instead of making like a Zegas comic, which came out once a year or something. That wasn't a career. That was more like a side hustle. That was a hobby, really. But I wanted to produce something that I could rely on every month, treat it like my job, and that's why I did so. But creatively, I think I was just tired of the comics that were coming out. I was working at a store. I was working at Bergen Street Comics in Brooklyn once a day, just again to socialize, because as a cartoonist, you're just isolated. So I was working at the comic shop that my friends ran, and they would just like some bullshit that I hated. And I'm like, I respect you guys so much. You guys have great taste generally, and you're hard cases too. Like they would make fun of shit too, and we all agreed this is a joke, this is a masterpiece, whatever. We were mostly on the same wavelength, but sometimes they would like things where I'm like, really? This is what gets you off? And all the critical darlings from that time would come in, writers from this side and bloggers and whatever, and they would all like certain things. I'm like, the petty competitive part of me was like, I could fucking do better than this. So then you have that weird energy, right? I didn't know what to do with that. I was revisiting Suicide Squad. I needed a monthly income thing. I think all those things just converged really into an objective. I needed to create something. Now, to unpack the Suicide Squad thing, I really loved them. And I got obsessed with the property, not only the creators, but the property. And I was following their trajectory as a property up to recent day. And at that point, it was like New 52. And I don't know if you're familiar with New 52. DC relaunched all their books, Suicide Squad being one of them. And I read it, and it was fine. It was just not what I loved about what I had just read or revisited, which is the Ostrander material. So I thought, hey, I could do something with my love for the Suicide Squad. It has nothing to do with this new version. It has nothing to do with Zegas, with my previous project. I'm just going to do a thing that I shouldn't do. I shouldn't make this bootleg comic. So it should be quick. I really got to bat this thing out because it's sort of like, not a waste of time, but it's like I really can't spend too much time on this. It's illicit, it's wrong. People are probably going to make fun of me, like, what are you doing, mate, doing superhero stuff? You're an indie guy. Just shut the fuck up. Do your own thing. What are you doing? What are you doing doing capes, right? Which is another story to unpack. I'm not gonna, like that's just the divide between indie and superhero is a fucking joke. So anyway, I was like, fine, I'll do this bootleg comic in a month, and I did it. And it was like 16 pages plus cover and everything, wrote, drew it, lettered, everything myself. So that proved that I could do something once a month. And that's how COPRA started. I'm like, what do I do next? Just another thing that's gonna take a year? Or do I just plug into this like energy that I'm getting from the buzz of these old comics, my need to create something, and my desire to crush my enemies?
Yeah, very, very Conan the Barbarian of you. Yeah, COPRA is a weird thing because it does smash that divide between superheroes and indie, because it is very much a superhero book. I mean, mercenaries, whatever, superheroes. But in terms of COPRA fathers, there's Ostrander, there's Jim Shooter, in some ways Gary Groff. You've got this sort of 80s Marvel, 80s DC, 80s comic sort of thing.
Did you say Jim Shooter?
I did.
Interesting.
Because more of the 80s Marvel, Squadron Supreme,
oh, sure.
sort of thing
Sure.
that we nailed.
Yeah.
Sorry, we're sort of all over the map here. Just
No, we're sticking to it.
Yeah,
I don't know.
okay.
You let us know. If you want to know something, just whatever.
Yeah, but COPRA is a very 80s book. It's a very indie book, but it's not a pastiche. It's not trying to replicate 1989 Marvel sort of thing. And yet you pull some deep cuts in terms of some of your characters' designs. I remember that character from this and that character from that and stuff. So there's a lot of different things, and it's interesting to see when you're going into this thing of, I'm going to pull from what makes me tick, and this is what makes you tick. I mean,
this COPRA is all my interests, of course, but I think it was my approach that sort of, I don't know about set it apart, but I think the audience read my enthusiasm for it, but also my earnestness in almost a gross way. Oh, you're really serious about this? Whereas like before, indie guys doing a bootleg comic, it's always like very funny. It's all very, haha, look how dumb this shit is.
Yeah.
Where I was like taking it dead seriously.
Yeah.
And
like, that comes through on the page.
I would hope. Like, I wasn't doing it as a spoof or a joke. That's why it's not satire. If anyone's gonna sue me, I can't be like, it's a joke. It's not at all. I'm trying to be the thing.
Yeah.
It's just by virtue of the fact that my style's different that it makes it look like its own weird thing.
Yes.
So would this be more tribute than parody? Has at any point did you ever have to have the uncomfortable conversation with DC's legal team? Or did they kind of hands off it?
No, I mean, I've spoken to editors at DC who wanted to hire me because of COPRA, and they have, and I've worked for DC since, but in a minor way, but, I'm not taking over their Suicide Squad title, but they're also not mad at this,
Yeah.
In fact, I probably sold tons of Suicide Squad by hand, just at shows, at this show alone, talking up the virtues of that old run. But no, I haven't had that awkward conversation. No, but I think my earnestness is how I approach all this stuff I do. And I was thinking a big inspiration early on that I didn't really realize was the Ninja Turtles. Because that was two guys who just did their stuff from their basement or their living room. And they really believed in that property. They believed in like the Ninja Turtles. I mean, sure, it was like kind of funny, right? And it was supposed to be very Ronin-esque and very direct.
Oh, yeah. It gets sanded off over the years and stuff. You go back and you're like, this is Miller, this is Kirby.
No, it morphed into its own thing, and they were unapologetic about it.
Oh, yeah.
But they treated it seriously, whereas like all the imitators, they're all funny.
Yeah.
It's like, radioactive hamsters from whatever. They started a trend, and they were kind of riding a trend, the black and white, boom, funny animal, critters kind of thing.
Yeah.
But the difference is that they took it seriously. And once that clicked, I was like, that's the ingredient.
Yeah.
For me, I mean, it came naturally, but I kind of recently articulated that to myself.
Yeah.
Oh, that's why I like that comic as opposed to the imitators. I don't like the funny novelty. I've never fucking liked that at all, ever. Not only just for Ninja Turtle type stuff, anthropomorphic animal comics, but just in general. If you're making fun of stuff, you're punching down, it's boring to me. Even bootlegs that still come out, it's all like, lame dick jokes.
Yeah.
Really? You're going to spend your time on Earth making bad jokes with like costumes? It doesn't speak to me, so I just express that differently.
Yeah.
I don't know.
In terms of speaking to you also for this, is not only your inspiration from 80s comics, but also your inspiration from 80s work situations, work ethic. It's been layered, obviously, that independent vibe, but also mainstream comics. We got this thing has to go out every month, and you got to do this. And you wanted to not only get work out in a way that obviously kept you on schedule, but like you pivoted into that. I want to tap into that Romita Jr. energy. I want to tap into that Ostrander, Luke McDonald energy of having to do this thing on a schedule. And so I think that helps make COPRA different, because you're not just pastiching a look, you are trying to immerse yourself in that particular working environment as much as you can, but then letting it inform you, and then whatever you are bringing to it is somehow formulated through that as well.
Yeah, I never really wanted to do a pastiche. Like, it wasn't my intention to be like, I want to make a 1989 DC comic, as much as I really want to, and just mimic the ads and the letters. I've only done that once, and that was with a Blood Strike. I did a Blood Strike series for Image for Rob Liefeld. And there was 3 issues, and I very specifically, because I was plugging in story holes and numerical holes in the publication line of this book, Bloodstrike, I was like, that's the reason for my project to exist, so I'm going to do my Bloodstrike issues as if they were printed in 1993. That was the only time I actively wanted to make something to look like something older.
Right.
When it comes to COPRA, I think it's just a vibe. I think it's just the fact that I mailed it out to subscribers. I had letters pages with fan art, interacted with readers. It came out pretty consistently. I utilized characters from my youth, you know, in a way that looked like characters back then, not the new versions. So maybe that affected it. But the writing is different. The art's different. The production value is different. The colors are different. So there's nothing 80s about any of that stuff. I don't think 80s had a look. The beauty of the 80s is that you had all sorts of styles. So it's difficult for me to be like, oh, this is an 80s style. You know, I was never really going for that. I wouldn't be able to, even if I wanted to, is my point. Because the 80s is just timeless to me. I might be biased. I don't know. I know there's an 80s aesthetic it's tapped into, and we use it every day, and there's like certain color palettes and visuals. But by and large, in comics, the comics I like, I don't really see a through line in art style.
Yeah, I feel like if this had come out in the 80s, it would have been like a First comic, or a, what's the other one? Not Eclipse, like maybe an Eclipse sort of thing.
Not with that lettering. Not with my lettering at all.
Okay. But like
well, my lettering stems from underground comics. Robert Crumb, Spain, all the undergrounds, you know, which led into the Fantagraphics line of books, like the second wave of independent alternative things like Love and Rockets, Hate, things like that. 8-Ball, you letter it yourself, it might look funky, but fucking who cares? Like, it's your own, part of the language that you're setting forth. The Europeans do it. Mobius did it.
It's like, why wouldn't you?
Toth, fucking. So it's a rich tradition, and I was like, I'm just going to do it. You don't really see it in service of a superhero comic.
No.
So I was taking those underground alternative ethos and applying them to a superhero comic, a serialized group. So that combination is just a weird thing you don't see every day.
Yeah.
So maybe that's what set it apart. I don't know.
Yeah.
Consistency too, I think. Not to sidebar, but consistency, showing up every month, I think that played a huge part.
Yeah, it's a new comic with an old soul.
Sure.
Is, I think, something that I hope makes sense, because I just came up with it. One of the things that we bandied about back and forth before this is there's an X-Men inspiration, something that people usually don't see it, but can you go into that a little bit?
Oh, sure. So the Suicide Squad is the obvious template for COPRA, but I think my love for X-Men is, I don't know as deep, but it's pretty fucking deep. Like, I really love the X-Men. In this way that I never really talk about, because it's almost like saying the Beatles are my favorite band. Like, no, they're really good. But you can't really say they're your favorite band. Come on. But maybe they might be. I don't know. Same thing with the X-Men. It's kind of, especially for an 80s child, the X-Men were everything. I don't know where they're at now. You correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know. But in the 80s and 90s, they were everything. Right.
Where's your sweet spot?
Outback era. Yeah, Outback.
Okay.
Because that's how I discovered it. I've gone back and I recognize that, Burn, and I know the high spots. But for me, it's the Outback era. And so I try to not replicate. I don't know. It's just the way Claremont had so many subplots and sometimes never revisited them, or he would revisit them years after the fact. I just like that sort of play between characters. It's almost like a soap opera in that the characters grow and evolve. And I know they would say things like that about Love and Rockets, and it's like, come on, don't cheapen Love and Rockets by comparing it to soap opera. But I don't see it as cheapening. I think the soap opera dynamic is very unique And comics kind of carries a little bit of that. You know, it's just character development over a long period of time, hundreds of issues in regards to the X-Men, in regards to Chris Claremont alone, handling them.
I think Claremont and Ostrander have, certainly working in that monthly superhero thing, there's a pacing to long-form storytelling like that where you would have your action issues and then your breather issues and then your this. And so Ostrander had his personnel files for Suicide Squad, and then for X-Men, they'd play baseball, and they did, you know, those sort of things. So doing COPRA as an ongoing, let you have that ebb and flow that I think helps the series overall, helps us get into the characters, but you wouldn't have had if it were a series of graphic novels or like this epic and then this epic. The better ones are the ones where you can have the before and the after and the ebb and the flow and all of that.
In fact, my first breather issue was called Personal Files because I was just wearing it on my sleeve. I was shameless in that regard. Personal Files is the Ostrander Suicide Squad annual check-in with all the characters. I think they all kind of see their therapist or their house therapist, and you kind of get, you know, updates on characters and stuff, where they're at, where they're going. I never had COPRA play baseball, and I probably never will.
I think that should
like if I ever return or whatever, I'm not playing baseball. But the thing about X-Men, what opened up that door was that, okay, I'm gonna make this Suicide Squad thing. So I gotta make an analog for everyone. And then I got to the Rick Flag character. Are you guys familiar with the Suicide Squad at all? On a very loose, well, maybe even just the movies or something. I don't know. Rick Flag is the kind of leader, right? He's a gun-toting dude. And I was like, oh, I could just draw a gun-toting dude. But wouldn't it be cool if it was the Punisher? Right? And I could make it look like a certain way where it's not obviously Punisher, but it's the Punisher, right? And there was a Kevin Nolan cover from Strange Tales that had the Punisher and Doctor Strange on the same cover. For some reason, I've always loved that cover. And they have nothing to do with one another. I don't think they even interact. I don't remember the comic, unfortunately, but the cover, it's so inspiring, right? So I'm like, oh, I need a sorceress type. So I could do an enchantress type, or I could do Clea. And that'll give me a chance to draw like a Doctor Strange. I mean, this is shameful shit, you guys. I'm telling you, this is, who cares? No one's gonna read this. This is only going to my friends. I'm only printing like a few hundred copies. Fuck it, the Punisher goes in. And so does Doctor Strange, and so does Clea. So that opens the door to Marvel. I have the Punisher character. Who do I have him hang out with? Oh, he has roommates, and they're the Reavers. Because there's a two-issue part from the Mike Baron run of the Punisher where he interacts with the Reavers, who are X-Men bad guys. I'm like, shit, if the Reavers are his roommates, I could just do a bunch of X-Men people whenever I want. I really shouldn't be doing this. I mean, it really is like the worst in fan fiction almost, you know? But again, I was treating it so earnestly. I'm like, I don't care. I'm just gonna do it. You know? And that really opened up the doors for
There's
me.
so much else going on in COPRA, just the way you're presenting it. And I told you this before, it's an interesting shorthand when you as a reader, I don't know if this is like this for you guys, where I'm seeing this, oh, there's the Doctor Strange, there's the Frank Castle, this and that. And so it gives you almost an expectation of, okay, he's pulling this character and putting him sort of in this situation, so I'm expecting him to zig, and then you're like, no, we're gonna zag, and you're like, oh, I don't know exactly how you pull it off, but you have your cake and eat it too. Like, you are pulling from all of these, not even necessarily archetypes, because some of them aren't big enough to be like an archetype, but you're pulling from stuff, but you're using other toys in a new way while still referencing and recognizing the fact that there are other toys. It's a balancing act. It's a magic trick that you did for 50 plus issues. I'm not exactly sure how you did it, but that's one of the things about COPRA. That's one of the things that people will come back to, other than just sort of wanting to read it and do all that stuff, is also the how does this work, because it does play on a bunch of different levels. And you've got your 70s DC, Ditko, Shade, Love. That's a whole other vein of stuff.
The magic trick that you mentioned is actually a tradition in comics, right? I look back and I'm like, wait a second, Watchmen is a thing, like a direct analog. The Fantastic Four are sort of riddled in these kind of analogs, you know?
Squadron Supreme.
Classic Squadron Supreme. You know, and another influence that I never, ever talk about really is The Authority by Mark Millar and Frank Quitely. Like, I read those when they were coming out, and those were kind of like, oh, what the hell, what's going on? They were so beautiful. I haven't reread them in a while. And I know they could be a little iffy. I know it's got issues, but when I would see what they would do, I know it was so sort of like freeing and like, oh, you're just riffing on stuff. You could do that. Whereas like the previous Authority, I'm not too familiar with. I never really rocked to them.
No, it didn't riff like that at all.
Yeah, so I was really into that run, mixed in with the Watchmen thing and the Alan Moore's thing, Miracle, Marvel Man.
Yeah. I
saw it as a tradition. I'm like, oh, you can do this.
Oh, yeah.
It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
Relax. First of all, no one's going to care, so relax.
Yeah.
No one's going to come down your door. Legal's not going to be knocking on my door. No, it's so off the grid. It's under the radar.
The best ones are the ones that take that and then do something with them, like Watchmen and or whatever. And I think COPRA also does that. It wears its heart so much on its sleeve, but that heart gives you so much story to it. You're just like, yeah, this is.
Yeah, but the X-Men did kind of teach me about long-term storytelling.
If you're going to learn, he's the.
Yeah, and I was familiar with it, and I sort of had to reawaken my love or realize that I loved it as much as I did. I mean, in the first arc, I have a magician character, Xenia, who is sort of like a Dark Phoenix character arc. Not in terms of personality or what she does, but just the inspiration of you transform into something bigger than you were. And I came to that late. I wasn't planning that out. That wasn't on purpose. I'm like, now this is going to be my X-Men moment. It's sort of like, I look back after 30-some issues, and I'm like, oh, wow, this is a lot of X-Men stuff, a lot of mutant stuff. Yeah. Do you guys like the X-Men? I don't know. Maybe I'm just alone. I don't know. You guys
Were there any particular pieces of something that you wanted to put into COPRA that you didn't for either you couldn't find a way to make it fit or didn't have time or?
Oh, sure. Batman. There's a scene where I wanted to sort of pay homage to the Steve Englehart, Marshall Rogers, Deadshot Batman issue.
Of the big typewriter and the...
Yeah. And so I had a big Lloyd, who's my Deadshot character, Lloyd scene. And I'm like, oh, I'm just going to have to introduce a Batman character. And I wasn't looking forward to it. I actually wasn't excited. I'm like, it just felt wrong for some reason. I'm like, I can't cross that line. It's a little too obvious or cheesy or something. I don't know. There's something that prevented me from going further with that. So instead, I came up with a different solution to a story, but for some reason, I feel like the bigger icons are off the table for me. We've seen it done.
There's not enough room to play with?
No, I think I'd rather just work on the real thing if I'm going to do that. I'm not going to have a Spider-Man character. The doors were open once I realized, I could do Punisher and Marvel and whatever, X-Men, But I never do obvious X-Men shit. It's all like the C-list
It's not Wolverine.
Villains,
It's Pierce from the Hellfire Club. Now that he's leading the Reavers and the guy with the tank body and stuff, you're like, that's the X-Men stuff.
Yeah, and they're going to die anyway. They're not like staples or anything. But something about, here's my Superman, here's my... If I have a good story, if I really have an urge to do something with them, then I'll do it. But I just didn't at that time. But I think that's an example of that.
That's a healthy attitude to have, I think. Any questions?
Leave them alone. Oh, wait, you...
I just wanted to,
So at one point, I think you were potentially going to work on a Spider-Man grand design. Is there any hopes of that ever happening?
I wouldn't say it's off the table. It's just really down to a scheduling thing.
Your schedule is kind of clear.
It is kind of clear. So yeah, we're talks about a bunch of other stuff too, though. That's one of the things. I don't know which I'm going to land on. There's like talks with other publishers about stuff. There's also the things I mentioned about my stuff. Like what I'm going to publish and what I'm going to put out. We'll see. I don't know. I wouldn't rule it out, but a Spider-Man something or other might be in the cards. I don't know. Forget I said anything.
All right. We're talking about Spider-Man and Ditko and whatever. In terms of art influences going into COPRA, let's say you've done some Bloodstrike or whatever, and you're like, I need to get back into this. You look at your own stuff, but you're like, I need to recharge my COPRA batteries. Who do you look at?
It's funny you mentioned Bloodstrike because I felt like I was really being myself in that. Yeah. But then I took a job right after that, and I felt like not that. I was still being myself, but it was really just a plugged in, I just got to make this project happen, and then I got to go back to COPRA and really just feel like I could do anything. And that's because COPRA is not really just about the art, it's about the whole package. So I have to letter it and color it, I have to be a control freak about it. That's kind of part of the style.
Yeah.
But in terms of art style, it's really difficult for me to identify too much. All I know is that it's sort of a show-offy style. And I kind of just recently came upon this because I try to be sketchy in certain parts, but then I try to be real clean. Sometime in the same drawing, just to be like, look what I could do. Look how fucking broad I am, you know. But that's only to me. No one's ever told me that. No one's ever been like, oh my God, the way you did that line. No. But to me, to justify me doing page 500 or something, I'm just like, all right, cool. I'm going to do this just to sort of. I just like it. I just like this mix of things. But that also includes the tone of a story, or the color palette, or the layout, the panel configuration. It could go from super boring and basic to a super wild design. Yeah. It's really just to keep myself entertained. I don't know what kind of style that is, but because I like all sorts of styles, you know, very clean, measured, thin look, or like a chunky, thick, dirty line.
You like your Jansen, you like your Kevin Nolan, you
Totally.
like your thing.
I like Liefeld, I like Jose Luis Garcia Lopez.
That is the alpha
You guys
and the
figured it
omega.
out, you know.
Right.
I like little heads on big bodies, but I like perfection.
Yeah. It's interesting that in terms of you inking other people, which you don't really necessarily do all that often, you seem to, I don't know how I want to say this, you're very...
Careful. Easy.
You come through very strongly in a Kevin Nolan way, in that, like, he's a great inker, but you can tell when he kind of turns whatever it is that he's working on into a Kevin Nolan version of something.
You know what's funny? For a while when I was trying to break in, I was trying to break in as an inker, because I was like, fuck, I can't get any work penciling. Fine, I'll ink. I could ink the hell out of this thing. And I would do samples and stuff.
Yeah.
Try not to overpower stuff. I never got any gig. Actually, that's not true. I did
keep
ink
working on that
over.
because you were very...
Yeah, I did ink over. Oh, no, I don't have to tell you. It's all good. It's one of those jobs. It's like it came in whatever. But I learned a lot, and it was actually that job. I had to ink a whole issue in a weekend, so that kind of broke the barrier for me to be like, I could get this done. I could do this. So it's actually important to the COPRA story, that one job. But it's funny you mentioned Nolan, because he went through a period of just inking things. If you're familiar with Kevin Nolan, the artist, he used, I think in the 80s, he went under the name Mandello because he wanted to separate himself from Nolan.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so if you ever see anything drawn or inked by Mandello, that's him.
Interesting.
I mean, you could tell by the style. It's like weird Defenders issues or Solomon Kane fill-ins or whatever. Just anyway, that was part of my thing where I just kind of wanted to become an inker because I wanted to work, man. I just wanted to be in the industry doing something. Yeah. But I wasn't getting it pencils. Yeah. Also, it comes down to lettering too. That's another thing I took from the undergrounds, where you don't use rulers. I like that organic line, you know. Yeah. Old undergrounds, you know, just a little wiggle is nice. Yeah. Nothing too messy. It's not like off balance or anything. I rule the shit out of my pages, but it's like, all that's by hand. And I try my best. If you go under the microscope with that, it might not be totally straight, but it's enough. You know, all that's by hand, but that organic look to it. Not every balloon's going to be perfect. And I got to say, that might be a turnoff to some readers. And I get it. The lettering might be, it pulls you out. You're either in or you're out. Yeah. So I'm lucky for you guys who have been in. And that's just part of the language of it. That's the visual language of it. I mean, it could always improve. I'm always like, oh man, it's always improvement that could be used. And I think that's what I'm going to take to the next project, whatever it is. It's just really, I don't know, maybe not slow down. I still have it in me to just create quickly, but just kind of consider different things.
It'll be interesting to see the next thing you work on. Obviously, it'll be
That's a super clean drawing. I did that on purpose, just a super, very image, cross-hatching, and just tight, clean lines. Because I wanted to challenge myself and do something different. Yeah. But whereas usually I'm like quick brush strokes, very bold, messy lines.
You do combine a lot of stuff. Like you were talking about earlier, you know, in an issue of COPRA, there's going to be brushy stuff, there's going to be textural things, and then there's going to be laser-like other things.
You know what's funny is that I thought that I was being so clever, you guys. I'm going to combine like the crusty, crazy style that I have with like super clean image 90s style. Mm-hmm. And when I did it, I'm like, oh, that's Sam Keith. What am I doing? Like, I'm not creating anything. Like, he beat me to it, but did it fucking awesomely 30 years ago. Like, it's fine. It's another big influence, too. I don't really paint, but Sam Keith is a huge influence. We're going down names that I don't mention nearly enough. Sam Keith is up there.
Backing up a little bit, you've got this combination of indie, mainstream, but also image. your combination of your Jim Shooter era of Marvel, things need to be explained, every comic is somebody's first,
Yes.
these are rules, all this stuff, your Mark Grunwald, Roger Stern, that sort of stuff.
Sure.
And then your 1992 Image comic of like, gates are open, nobody knows what the f- going on.
Sure.
Talk about that when you're like putting COPRA together, you're working on COPRA. You were making it up as you went, but you had storytelling discipline to be like, this is going to happen, this is going to happen. Talk about storytelling.
You know what's funny? Speaking of Claremont, is
Yeah.
that he actually does that. He like made it up as he went along.
But he had so many things. It
So
was
many,
all
and
like,
he had editors to keep him in check and stuff.
yeah,
Where I
Weezy
was
and-
like,
yeah.
I did kind of make it up as I went along with a larger plan ahead of time. But listen, the thing about COPRA is that it enabled my bin diving habits, which is just looking for old issues. So I don't know which was more important in the process. Like, did I make this project to enable myself to bin dive? Or am I just doing research for my next thing? And you got to get juiced up for this stuff. So part of me was like, I got to revisit this stuff. I got to find new things. I got to do this and that.
Yeah.
And part of my discovery of Roger Stern, or rediscovery, because I read him as a kid, but I read his Marvel stuff recently around issue, I want to say 26, after I did my big 25th issue. On 26, I'm like, holy shit, I have all these subplots, all these characters. I just read this Avengers stuff by Roger Stern, and he handled it so well. I mean, so elegantly. And it didn't read like what you think an old school overwritten type of comic is. It's actually really good. But it was a little overwritten. Oh, you're explaining things to a child in 1986.
Yeah.
But it was still good.
Yeah.
It didn't have to be like a slog.
No.
And then my appreciation of Mark Grunwald kind of like muscled up, and I'm like, oh, he does the same. And that's why his stuff reads in a way that other comics don't, right? And so I started incorporating that into my work around those issues, 26 till 30, 31. And you could see in a lot of word balloons, whereas I didn't use many word balloons before. I was like, I want to over-explain. I want to use exposition as an art, because usually people are like, oh, don't exposition. That's like a faux pas. You don't do that. Come on.
Yeah.
That's cheesy, right? But I'm like, well, fuck it. I'm going to use exposition as like a tool.
Yeah. It's cheesy when it's done wrong.
Well, yeah, it could be terrible. You could make it funny. You could make it interesting, whatever. You could try, whatever. And that led, for some reason, it was kind of a weird timeline. So that's like a very 80s thing. And then it went into my 90s-ness, which is like,
Fuck all that. Just like it's all just.
I started drawing biceps with huge crosshatch lines, the way they did back in the day. And it was a natural evolution of my love of comics history without knowing it. I went from like 70s Steve Gerber Defenders, everyone's bickering in a weirdo scenario, to like 80s, let's explain everything and be clear to the new reader, and then 90s madness, which coincided with me going to Image. And I'm like, hey, what better time to exploit my love for Youngblood than to
Bloodstrike.
how about now? Yeah, it was post Bloodstrike, so that kind of prepared me for that. But if you notice, figures started busting out of the panels. There's weirder layouts when it came to that, like bolder sort of figures and stuff, mixed in with very formalistic sort of work. So again, I thought I was being awesome by combining both.
You were. But again, that's one of the things that.
I don't know. I can't say, but that was my approach.
One of the
that
benefits.
was my reasoning.
Yeah, but again, going back to one of the benefits of having a platform like COPRA that came out over such a long period of time, you got to evolve. Like, you got to have a run that has not just different stories in it, but different approaches. I mean, if you look at Suicide Squad 1 through 4, looks tons of different, feels different than Suicide Squad 62 to 66. Like, there's.
Look at those biceps. Come on. I mean, you can't tell because it's a little blurry, but look at that chest. Like, that scene actually was the perfect example of that. It's like you're going from stark, simple black and white, the way that kind of is. You know, it's a little messy, it's splattery, and then it goes into chiseled 90s mode.
Yeah.
Like
I mean,
that.
look at that.
Like it got
That is
into
from
like,
John Romita Jr. table
totally
number
John
one.
Yeah.
Guns.
Totally.
Look at those guns.
Totally. Which, by the way, I try not to swipe, right? Like,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
never really do it, but it's all subconscious. So I drew that, and I'm like, oh, that's a John Romita pose. Fuck.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't mean to do that. That was an obvious, that's an
Well,
obvious
yeah, yeah.
homage to
Yeah.
X-Men.
Yeah.
Again,
But that's to a very specific reason.
that's a very specific, that was an ad, it wasn't in story, whatever, but, and it was like,
Yeah, the
to
ad-
announce my image jump. So it all made sense to me. I don't know, no one ever points this shit out. No one's, oh my God, you know, so I hope people just enjoy it in general. I don't know.
Any questions? Sir?
I was going to ask, so from any of your, like, Marvel assignments, like, the Ultimate you wrote,
Yeah.
like, you took anything from that and then gave it to
No, that's a weird one because that was very much like an isolated incident of me collaborating with people. If anything, it made me appreciate working by myself a lot more. Yeah, I mean, it was a good experience, but it was like the lack of control was difficult at times. I'll tell you the truth, I almost quit that thing 3 times before the first issue came out. I'm not even kidding. I almost walked away because it felt so weird and wrong. But I went with it. I'm an adult. It was a job, whatever. I got over it. And it was a fine experience. But I haven't done that since. You know, I had to double down and be like, no, I have to be Mr. Cartoonist and do it all myself. For better or for worse. The funny thing about that is that all these comics we're talking about, they're a result of collaboration. So I'm always kind of like jealous of that magic, and I'm like, oh, I still kind of want to experience that. Like when you lock in with the right team, and it all works, even if it's just for 6 issues or something. It's just a gig, but there's something magical about that. And I don't know if that's me and my nostalgia loving these old comics, you know? So I still miss that. I still maybe want to do that one day. I don't know. But once you go into your own thing, it's difficult to go back. As a cartoonist, as a sort of isolated, insanely private, controlling cartoonist, you know, I'm just like, I don't know. There's not enough time in the world. But that's what I learned, if anything, just to value my time. But I've since done jobs. I've since collaborated other times, but that was the trajectory back then. You get an indie guy and you slap him on some book, and then that indie guy now becomes a mainstream guy and just writes 7 books a month for the majors. I went back to my own thing, you know, so I did the opposite thing. Whereas I could have gone in this direction, but it just wouldn't have been fun. So that wouldn't have produced many good comics, I don't think. You know, maybe one day, I don't know. It's a privilege to even have this work, so I'm not taking it for granted.
Right.
I'm lucky as hell that Marvel even cared to give me a writing shot, you know? And I did other stuff for them, but that was the major project.
Yeah.
I don't know.
All right. And then another?
Yeah, I just wanted to know, because you talked about your storytelling and art styles changed a little bit. How's the process of actually getting this out, you know, month after month, or hitting those deadlines? How has that changed and evolved over time with like different tools, digital becoming more mainstream? Because I've seen some stories you've done for Marvel, and I had the Brutalist that you did, and it still looked, I mean, it was you.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It definitely still looked like you completely on the board. So how do you feel like you've changed from the beginning when you did this for your friends to now?
Hopefully I've gotten better, you know, because in the beginning when I first started out, I can't, honestly, full disclosure, I can't look at that old stuff, even though I have to constantly repackage it and reformat it and stuff, just because it was done in the spirit of getting it done. So that's what that style was, just kind of, the thing is, I'm not John Buscema, right? Mm-hmm. Like those guys could crank it out, right? But I just wasn't trained that way. So I was just doing my best and hoping for the best. And that's what happened, the first 12 issues of COPRA. By the time issue 13 came in, I was refining it a little bit more, but still trying to keep that energy. And that's why, hopefully, maybe the art got a little better, you know? And the thing with me is like, I kind of mentioned this recently, but trying to define what better is, I don't know, is like drawing a foot better gonna get me new readers? Like, you know what I mean? If I draw shading on this face, is that gonna equate to sales? So it doesn't, right? Mm-hmm. So the thing is, what am I happy with, you know? And that changes from day to day. As long as the work is done and complete, that's all that matters. I don't know if that dictates the style too much, but if I want to do something super detailed or super realistic or cartoony or abstract, it really depends on my mood. And I think now I've developed this sort of, not control, because it all seems kind of chaotic, to be honest, but I can pick and choose the styles for whatever the scene needs. And that could be anything, really, I don't know. So the development, what I've learned from the first issue to now, it's like, I gotta keep drawing, man. I've never felt like I'm coasting, like, oh, this is my style. And I so wish I had that. Mm-hmm. Like, I wish I had like a Sal Buscema, John Byrne, sort of like, they have a language. This is what a body with clothes on it looks like. Mm-hmm. And it looks interesting, and I like that, but they have such a like specific, like, da-da-da-da-da. Yeah. And I feel like I'm always like figuring out how to draw the human head. Always, like to this day. Mm-hmm. You know, I don't know, I'm constantly learning. So I don't know if that answers your question, but that's the state of things right now. Yeah.
We talked about this a little bit before the panel, and I want to bring it up just again in terms of learning. In Death of Copra number 4, there's a large fight scene with a bunch of different superpowered characters going on, and it is one of the better, if not best, fight scenes I've read in quite a long time. It evokes Squadron Supreme number 12, which is maybe one of the best superhero fight scenes I've ever seen, in that it is not just sprawling, but it's so well laid out, and it's such a plotted thing. This attack does this to do the blah, 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 blah. Can you talk about how you put together your action scenes, like having them necessarily make sense, having them work for you aesthetically, but also, because this is a team book, so there's a lot of moving parts and pieces. How much do you plan out those type of, I don't want to say moves, but
Yeah, it's a stage. You just have to stage it.
it's not just, oh, they punch or whatever. I mean, you can write that, but then having it.
Oh, you haven't seen my scripts.
Oh, so you do.
It's all just like
that was
basic.
actually a question. Do you write yourself a full script
No.
and then?
Oh, who has the time?
Some people do.
I know. I
Not
don't
you.
know how they do it. Not
Okay.
me. My script is like on a sheet of paper, and it changes all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, not Suicide Squad. That Squadron Supreme,
Yeah.
12. A lot of words.
Yeah.
A lot of words.
A lot of S's. A lot of.
And I had no idea
squads
that
in
was an
it, so it's-
influence, but it kind of is. You know,
Subconsciously,
People said that.
probably.
Have you guys read any Squadron Supreme
Oh, it's so
fans,
good. It's so
Grunwald
good.
fans? COPRA 50. If you haven't read it, spoiler alert, it just came out a couple days ago.
Yeah.
49 is the big fight issue. I just don't
right.
want to spoil it for anyone. I know it just
Yeah.
came out. So, how do I map out? I don't know.
Like,
I
do
just
you?
do map it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do write. I don't want.
Yeah. No, I mean
I
clearly
do
you
write.
do.
I just don't sit there and I'm
Right.
like panel 1 from this angle. Blah. It's such a waste of time, and it's
Right.
so not fun. Speaking to the Marvel experience, I had to type it out for other people.
Yeah.
I had to
You had to externalize
visualize,
it.
and I mapped out fight scenes for that thing too.
Mm-hmm.
And after a while, it's like I'm not going to do this. Let the artist figure it out. I'll write the thing, but I don't have to be that controlling about that. You know. Anyway,
Hang on.
sorry.
I say Larry Hama used to say when he was with G.I. Joe back in the 80s, he never planned more than about 2 pages ahead, because if he didn't know what was going to happen next, the reader would never be able to guess.
Yeah, but he was lazy as hell. Come on.
Like, do you plan to have a rough outline for the whole issue, or?
I do, yeah. I do work issue to issue. That's about as far as I go. If I have any long-term thing, it's very vague. There's an arc called the Achizan Saga, and that was supposed to be my Inferno, right? Another X-Men callback. Oh, I could really milk this for 12 issues. This is awesome. Oh, I'm just gonna draw demonic buildings, and everyone's messed up, like demonic doppelgangers. Oh, it's gonna be great. And I was over it by 2 issues. And I'm like, I gotta get out of this magical world and go back to the real world. You know, I don't want to milk it. It felt wrong. It felt weird. So that's about as far as I plan. Really, it's just an issue, and it's okay. What's the objective for this issue? What has to happen? And I just break it down into scenes. Then I start writing the dialogue. Whatever needs to happen. If it's action oriented, it's great because I could just go straight to layouts, or I have a visual template as to what to do. Again, I also don't do many layouts. It's like quick chicken scratch. I mean, it's nothing. It's all in service of speed. I just have to get this stuff done. So I don't really plan ahead too much. But I gotta have some plan. It's not totally improv comics, you know. But I do like that feeling. I hope that comes across. I don't know. I don't know what the reader's gonna think, honestly. They might see it coming a mile away. I don't know. I remember a friend of mine was like, oh, issue 6 was really good. I mean, you saw it coming a mile away, but it was so good. And I was like, oh, fuck, that's not the intended. To this day, I mean, look, I just cited it. I wasn't expecting to, but I'm like, oh man, I hope people don't guess this or it's going this way.
I mean,
you know?
I think it's all about
So-
execution. Some people are going to see stuff coming and some people just aren't. But if it's executed well,
Sure.
then it's like, man, I hope he nails the landing. I hope
Well,
he nails
if
the
they're
landing.
if
Boom,
they're
he did. And you're
entertained,
like, yeah,
that's
yeah.
all. You know,
Yeah.
whether they like it or notice.
And if they
or
don't see it
whatever,
coming, that's
I don't
better.
know.
That's a bonus. But like,
Sure,
sticking the landing is really the thing. Do you want to plug Creating COPRA? Really
Nah.
quickly? Okay. Never mind. Forget
No,
I said anything.
Creating COPRA is a how-to book, a collection of Patreon essays where I just break down everything we've been talking about.
Yeah.
Really detail. Like,
Pictures and stuff.
yeah, I try to get into detail into how I make a COPRA comic. So it's not really a general how-to. I don't really go into types of brushes and nibs and stuff like that. Even though I mention it, but
You
it's
do.
not really a technical thing.
Well, it
and
is
that's what
for
you're looking
you. Like, it is very
It's
much,
about as
very much
technical-
your thing. But it is.
I treat it casually where this is the brush I
Yeah.
use, and I show a picture of it, and it's beat up and decrepit.
But we get to see pages in progress, and
Sure,
like you,
yeah.
like you letter pages before you draw on them or something. I'm like, what the hell? I remember asking you, I was like, I understand how, but I don't understand how.
Because I know what needs to go in that panel, and I might change the staging, or I might already know it, I might visualize it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's pretty organic in that way.
Yeah. And also one of the things is when you're working, not three-dimensionally, but 2.5 dimensionally, you use dimension in a really interesting way, especially when you have action scenes and you have things coming towards or away from the readers. And like that fight scene, you'll have your foreground action and then your background action. And obviously other artists do this. You didn't invent that. But Squadron Supreme 12 was very like foreground, middle ground, background. Like it was plotted like a jigsaw puzzle that all came together.
You know, that harkens back to COPRA #1. I remember that's one of the most fun things I did, which is like, oh, I have to incorporate this team and that team and have them fight and interact. So that was kind of like, oh
Action
shit, I could
figures.
do this. Because I hadn't done that before in my previous indie work. It's about relationships and jobs and those kind of issues. I didn't have to draw
Laser
someone getting
blast.
shot and blown up in
Yeah.
the same panel, and how's that punch going to affect this.
Yeah.
And it could be chaos. I could just draw fun stuff and it
Right.
not make sense, but I kind of wanted it to make sense.
Yeah. Every once in a while, you want it to be like, no, I know how to do this. Here's how everything works. But that fight, again, if I'm remembering it
The 50,
correctly,
the 40.
the 49, it's pretty much wordless, but you've got a lot of explosions and stuff. So you're going very scratchy with some things, but then also very clean with others. And just as of course, we don't have any pictures of this.
No, I had no idea we were going to talk about
Yeah,
this.
no, that's fine.
To be honest.
And
You know,
again,
you
don't
know
wanna
that
spoil
issue,
it.
real quick, I mean, it is a spoiler, but I was going to make it like, there's like reality warping elements in the story, so I was like, oh, I'm going to make like crazy shapes and be artsy, and
Go
it's going to be a
full-on Ditto
weird
and- yeah.
fucking image comic, yeah. And then I'm like drawing it, I'm like, I don't want to confuse the reader.
Yeah.
There's already minimal text.
That's
the
the- yeah.
coloring is insane. I don't want to make it difficult. I don't want to lose you guys, essentially. So I kind of wanted it to be a little representational.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I'm already pushing it.
Yeah.
I don't want to deter you guys. I want
Yeah.
you to enjoy it.
Yeah, and that's where that work, making it representational, because you have so much stuff going on. You could go one way and just be like, it's a complete whatever. You don't know, nobody knows what's going on. But storytelling, there's a lot of chaotic things, but this is interrupting this, which is causing this, which makes this, which means this person blows up and this, whatever. You did your homework and you executed your homework, and we read it, and it's not homework, it's awesome. So let me just
Thanks.
go ahead and say that.
How much time do we have for shit talking?
I don't know, we're good. I don't know
There are
when
some
you need to
names
get.
out there.
I don't know how much longer you've got to get
I
back to
don't
your
know.
table or
Let's
whatever.
see. 2:30. We're at the hour mark.
at
Sorry,
the hour.
guys. You're going to have to visit me at my table.
Which is 1176?
1176.
Okay.
And I will shit talk all afternoon.
He
God
will.
damn it.
He absolutely will. If there are no other questions, Michel, congratulations.
Dude, thank
COPRA
you.
50.
Thank you.
Great.
This is so weird.
right.
This is awesome. Thank you all for being on this ride. And you've been here since the get-go.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think issue 3.
He moderated a panel between me and Klaus Janson. I couldn't believe it. I was
Here,
like, what did I
as a
do?
matter of
Yeah,
fact. Yeah.
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 Thank you, Greg. Thank you, Greg.
Thanks again for listening. Keep an eye out for our next episode this coming Thursday. Please feel free to like, subscribe, rate, and review the show wherever you are given the opportunity to do so. It really does help us get the word out about what we've got going on here in our own little slice of the multiverse, and we would all greatly appreciate it. Until we meet again, my name is Greg. Please stay safe, keep enjoying those funny books, and we'll catch you next time.
Thank you for listening. Systems disengaged.